Hey, it's Evan here from Block E Media Incorporated. Thank you for clicking on this video for my initial outreach prospecting template. We got a dog coming in over here, coming in to attack me. Everything is done raw here at Block E Media Incorporated. But yeah, this is an email outreach template that I use with my students from Agency Supremacy, and I want to show you how I initially do my outreach method for gaining prospects to go in and book a meeting with myself. If you enjoyed the content that I make, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button as well as hit that bell or whatever it's called. I don't really know. This is my first video in a little while, and I hope that it's really, really helpful for you. I want to take you through the steps on how I personalize emails, which increases my meetings booked with prospects that I'm doing cold outreach for by around 80% versus if I don't personalize the emails. With that being said, I want to take you through that process. First, that initial booking the email. So we need a bucket, a personalized bucket premise, as well as a personalized summary at the end. And I want to take you into my computer right now and show you how I make that happen so that you can personalize those emails so that your emails don't just end up being read or sent into a junk folder or being blocked as spam or flagged as spam and stuff like that, which is a huge problem right now inside of our SMMA community. And let's get started with what I use personally for my email outreach, as well as what I teach my students inside of Agency Supremacy. So let's go into my computer. All right, so now that we're in my computer, I just want to show you guys a bit more about how premises work and how to form that first initial email. So now let's have a look here at bucket premises, because you first need a bucket premise as well as a personal summary. So how I phrase my bucket premises a bit more specifically are the following 5 steps for my bucket premises. So the first one is content that the prospect authored. So what that means is that there's 3 different things that a prospect could have authored that you can touch on in your initial bucket premise. So the first one being posts, so something that your prospect posted on social media, or maybe they did an email headline with it, a specific article that they wrote on their website, uh, also some webinars that they might have hosted in the past, all that sort of stuff if you want to get really, really specific for B2B email outreach. Those are really good touch points because that's something that is very personal to the author. And so that you can have some sort of basis on commonality, and you can personalize it a lot more, because if it's not personalized, usually it ends up going to the junk, or someone just might click on it to read on it and then they never have an initial reason to make a actual follow-up with you. So that's the initial one, is content that the prospect authored. That's mostly around 50 to 60% of my email outreach is based on that initial premise of content that the prospect authored. Another one is content that the prospect engaged with, which includes different comments that they might have had. So they could have commented on a specific post, or even on your post, which is even better. They could have shared it as well as liked it as well. You can get a ton of really good warm leads this way, and warm reception from the prospect that you're reaching out to for your social media marketing agency. And another one is self-attributed traits. So you can go onto their social media profiles and you can have a look at their profile line. So in LinkedIn, it's a bit more specifically, there's that little line that's underneath the banner as well as the profile picture. That could be an initial premise touch point, as well as any sort of headlines of any articles, or a company overview. So if they have their company attached to it, what's their philosophy within that company, and you could touch on that as well. Another one that I like to use is something known as the junk drawer, and a lot of these are taken from a woman that I've been following for a little while named Beck Sperato. I think that's what her name is. And Beck is really, really good at email outreach, and a lot of the principles that I've learned over the years come from Beck, and she uses this thing called the junk drawer. And the junk drawer includes like personal interests that the prospect might have. So I usually love to use the junk drawer as well as the content that the prospect authored. I like to use those interchangeably. So this is actually the second most bucket premise that I use within my initial email outreach. And that includes personal interests, hobbies, as well as schools attended, because a lot of people link their alma mater status at their university or their college. People take really personal notes for that, and they actually engage with some of the stuff that you've done and what you are initially doing in your initial outreach, because you've taken the time to actually go in and listen and learn about where that person came from and how they ended up molding into whatever company CEO, manager, business owner that you are following up with them today. So that's a really, really good way to be able to circle back on. And the last one that I have here is company centric. So company centric includes posts, blogs, hirings, as well as website language within the company itself that you can tie in. And the last one, to wrap everything all up, is the personal summary. So we will get into a bit more specifics in about a minute or so about how to tie both of these in with a personal summary as well as your bucket premise. But personal summary is a specific line from that attribution that you can have, and as well as empathetic values. So a specific line could be like, oh, I really like this line specifically in your LinkedIn article, or I like this line specifically in your Instagram post, as well as empathetic values, which ties into hobbies, personal attributes, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, let's have a look and put both of these together right now. All right, so now let's have a look at that first email and put both of those together so it makes a bit more sense for you. So email outreach template, this is what my current students use inside of Agency Supremacy, which is my six-figure SMMA program. So yeah, if you're not familiar with it, there's gonna be a website down in the description of this video, but pretty much it helps you close out your first client and scale all the way up to six figures. It's a step-by-step process, and it's an eight-week program. But yeah, this is available to my students, but we're just going to go over that first initial email, and then I'm going to, I'm not going to show you the rest of them. If you want the rest of them, you can shoot me off a message on Instagram at the Gilby Gilbs if you want this initial email outreach template, all 5 steps. So we're just going to go over that first one really quickly. So this is a process that I use to do outreach via email. This isn't a dry copy and paste outreach template, more so than a guide for cold email outreach. Included are 5 initial outreach emails that are used to warm up your prospects. Dependent on your niche and service offerings, you should be able to make these emails as personal as possible. Some of these I have left blank, and you need to fill in the blanks with personification, oh my God, I can't even read this morning, through your initial prospecting outreach methods, which is shown in module 3 and using the prospect resource sheet in accordance with this outreach method. You may also cater this email to cold social media outreach as well as you see fit. And you should have 2 to 3 days of separation between these emails. So let's do initial email number 1. So 3 to 4 lines max, because this isn't an essay. So many people ask me for help with their emails, and I get sent like a fucking essay that's like really, really long, and that's the wrong approach. Like if you get sent something like that, will you read it? Probably not. So max 3 to 4 lines, and also the premises are incredibly important. So bucket premise, as plus the premise of personal summary. So including in that is a body and a call to action. So let's have a look at it. So we'll start with the name. So hi, name of your prospect. The reason for my outreach is insert bucket premise. So we went over those bucket premises. So rewind a little bit in a few minutes ago into this video so you can have a look at what those bucket premises are. So you'll put one of those bucket premises in there. So say, hey, the reason for my outreach is that I read a LinkedIn article on so-and-so topic, which you need to tie into your body and what your company does and what your social media marketing agency does. So so say if you're doing real estate, for example, hey, John, the reason for my outreach is I read your LinkedIn article. But more importantly, I really like, and this is where you do a personal summary, but more importantly, I really like this specific line inside of your article. And when you tie both of those together, you can then do what we do at insert your company name. What we do at, for me, it's Blocky Media Incorporated, is I help real estate professionals get higher quality leads as well as high paying clients using digital advertising. So you can tie in what your company's goals are and what you do with your service providing right here in the body. Make sure that it hooks up with that initial outreach method or why that initial premise. You need to be able to hook those up, because if you don't hook those up, then it's literally just a useless email. And then we go into the call to action at the end. I am requesting a one-time opportunity to unpack how we help content mapped in premise specific to your prospect. So you need to be able to tie in why you did your initial outreach as well as what your company does to your prospect. And if you're not impressed, we can end the conversation there. Deal? And you want to have that uprising right at the end, because then it's kind of like, oh, deal, as in like, oh, it's like a contract and stuff. And that's a pretty big psychological barrier for people as well. And so that you're pretty much on equal playing grounds here. And they're very comfortable, and you can just end the conversation, end the call and stuff like that right then and there. And then you do your sign off, all the best, and putting your name there. So all the best, Evan. So yeah, this is how I do my first initial email outreach. And I have a whole bunch of other emails down on the bottom here. So email 2 for follow-up and all that sort of stuff. Like I mentioned, you can actually send me a message on Instagram at the Gilby Gilbs if you want this 5-part template that my students have as a resource inside of Agency Supremacy.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you got a ton of value from it, as well as some really key pointers on how to do that initial email outreach. Like I mentioned inside of the video, that 5-part email sequence is reserved for my students. But if you want to send me a message on Instagram at the Gilby Gilbs, I will answer back and just mention that you saw my video and that you would like the email outreach template, and I can send it out your way. So it's a 5 email sequence that I use for following up after that initial email, but I can't fit it all into that this one big video. With that being said, I also inside of the resource, I also have also me going over in a Loom video, just going over those emails and the psychological factors that go into it. Sorry, my hair is kind of crazy today. But yeah, if you enjoyed this content and you want to start growing out your social media marketing agency, you can hit the subscribe button, as well as ring that bell notification. God, I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at asking for things on social media, but with that being said, yeah, hope that I was able to help you with this video, and I will see you in the next one.